I would like to welcome everyone to the 35th episode of Money Trees. Yesterday we had a super curator, and today, we basically have Superwoman, the owner of IMG Agency, who works with some of the most talented humans to ever touch a recording studio. Janet Jackson, ring a bell to anyone? No, for real though. A marketing savant, a wonderful person who just so happens to also be from the greatest borough of the greatest city in the world. Anastasia Wright is here with us, ready to chop some trees and share some gems. How are you feeling today,
I'm good. What an intro.
That's the Money Tree special right there. Everyone has to get an incredible introduction because you're incredible people. So yeah, I was just playing Petty by Tangina Stone, one of your artists, and you guys had a show last night at Drum. How was that?
It was incredible. I always tell people Tangina is quite possibly one of the future great performers of our generation. She's an incredible musician, artist, writer, producer, but the way she fucks up the stage, I think, is something that a lot of people, a lot of artists, just in general, even those that are out right now, just don't do anymore. She's incredible live. She performed for almost an hour and a half. Um, she's just vocally gifted, and it was beautiful to see her return to the stage. It's been 2 years, we've been in this pandemic, so it's incredible to see her at home. She's home on the stage. That's her home. She loves performing. She loves the stage. So it was awesome to see her return to her place of comfort and joy. So it was a great night. Um, Amazing energy. She performed music from her new project for the first time. So there was a lot of new stuff, even for me as her manager. Hearing a lot of the records that I've been sitting with for so long, hearing them live, and it was incredible. Just incredible night.
Yo, that is so fire. And performing anything over a 45-minute set is incredibly difficult. So that's beautiful. You touched on something that I think needs to just be highlighted, which is the fact that most people take performing for granted, where a
Yes.
lot of artists will get on there and it's something that they phone in. There's no practice, there's no rehearsal. They're just, singing or rapping over the regular MP3 of their record. And that's such a lackadaisical approach to a part of the craft that I think is what establishes the most fans. Where you mentioned that as well. The pandemic robbed us of touring, and so for artists that really cut their teeth and connect with fans and show off their ability as performers, they've been kind of, I don't want to say reduced, but they've had to switch to digital
Right.
mediums.
Right.
So
They've
exciting
had to
seeing that.
pivot. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
So it's
think
exciting. Oh
also
no, keep going. You go. My bad. Sorry. There's like a delay
no
with the.
to sorry no to totally agree with you is also um it's just interesting for me right now. A lot of the popular artists. Sorry if there's background noise. I'm traveling. I'm on the road. I'm in New York right now. It's so loud. But
Casual flex. Keep going. Keep
yeah,
going.
the client, another client. Um, but
Anastasia may or
it's
may not handle the bookings for Soho houses globally, but keep going. Keep going.
um, but it's a huge revenue stream for artists that's what always shocks me as to why the new kids on the block, the baby acts, and no shade, I consider Megan Thee Stallion a baby act. I consider Summer Walker a baby act. I call them baby acts because, again, I have been part of Janet Jackson's team. So when you are a part of helping maintain a legacy and working with one of the greatest artists of our time. Fuck a generation. Janet has been around for 4 to 5 generations. um, your perception of what success looks like, what it takes to sustain that success looks different. So I call them baby acts respectfully. Um, because I don't understand why they don't put more into that. To your point, why are artists not investing more in their live show? Because touring is such a huge part of revenue stream that goes directly back to the artist, which so many other aspects of an artist's revenue doesn't. Everybody has a hand in the pot when it comes to royalties and sales, and the artist is often the last person to see that check hit their account. But touring is the purest. You merch, brand deals, so much can be round up in a tour. And then there's the global tour, the US tour, then you tour globally. It's just, I just don't get that. I never got that. And that's honestly, for Tangina, I actually took a different approach because we focused on touring her. To me, that's always going to be the best way to break an artist, right? You have to perform. That's how you build a fan
1000%.
base. You cannot build a real fan base online. And not to say that online isn't a big part of engaging and maintaining your fan base. I'm not saying that. But a real fan base is built in person, touring, building, going to those hole in the wall venues in different markets, building that story, that narrative with your fans, allowing them to journey with you from the hole in the wall to the midsize to the stadium. It's a gratifying experience for your fans to enjoy you and to enjoy the music and to see and meet the artist outside of a streaming platform. And so it's also because of that a greater price. It's a greater what do you call it? Price per fan. Right? When your fan is streaming you online, that price point is so fucking low. We don't have to go into that. Everybody knows streaming royalties are atrocious and is not a sustainable revenue model for any artist. So how are you going to make up for that? How is your music, giving you a ROI? You can't beat touring. Like I said, like between merch, brand deals, sync opportunities, like getting on the road and really revving that shit up is always going to be the best way for an artist to maintain um, and sustain.
I agree. I think that with touring, it's the best experience possible. For
It
me as
is.
a fan, when I go and see an artist live, and especially artists that are amazing performers,
Mm-hmm.
so I've been blessed to work with some also really talented artists, and
Exactly. Pat
with
yourself on the back.
De La, who's been around for longer than I've been alive, they've been active in the game. And it takes a certain dedication, it takes a certain attention to detail to the little things that other people may overlook, like performing. And I remember the first time I saw them perform, and I was like, holy shit, this is why they have staying power. This is why
Yep.
they have longevity. And so
Yep.
when you talk about the baby acts, right? I'll say it's because they were born in this microwave era. And this era
Mm-hmm.
of streaming encourages things to be extremely hot, really, really quick, with no worry about whether or not they're there. Not even who cares about 2 years from now? They're not worried if it's there 6 months from now. If you look at the top charts, and I went back a couple weeks ago and was looking at, like, the Spotify, your top
Yep.
songs or whatever, there were so many songs that I had listened to from artists that were in my top that I hadn't listened to them since they were in that top playlist. And
Mm-hmm.
it's wild to think about something as simple as, like, hey, invest in yourself in your live show being something that's overlooked.
Yes.
So you touched on something that I think is really, really ill, and it's been, a debated conversation. And I keep saying this, like, streaming wasn't invented to pay artists. And so
No.
you can never look at that as your way to make money. It's an amazing distribution model. And part of what I've been looking at with Web3 and just this idea of, like, music NFTs is, well, what is this new space going to provide for us? Before I get too much into my perspective on it, Tangina did just put out her first music video NFT, dropped it with
Yes.
Zora, collabed with Goldie, who's making waves, and Goldie Harris, who's
Shout
making
out to
waves in the
Goldie
space as well.
Harris.
Yeah, for real. Like, super ill. Met her at a Web3 Wednesday event. And again, even that Web3 Wednesday, what did they organize? An in-person event for us to come and talk and see each other, for us to interact, and for you to hear about this
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
experience it in a way that doesn't happen online. And I say this all the time to people in the space, like, I love it, but I don't want to live in the metaverse. I want to go outside. I
You know what?
appreciate.
I'm not gonna go as let's let's stay in sync, because I literally had a conversation yesterday with a friend about generations. I feel like Gen Z, they missed it, man. They missed it, especially in New York. I'm from New York, born and raised, and I just moved to Atlanta. So I've spent 34 years in New York, iconic years. New York, I was like, when I was 20, I was outside. I was outside running these streets and throughout my whole 20s,
Outside.
exhausting them, like from the club to the office, taking bird baths in Sony's bathroom. I was living my life. I wasn't worried about no Instagram. I wasn't worried about no fucking Twitter, no metaverse. I was outside creating memories and moments. So it's
And
always
it's
interesting to me with this innovation where it's digital is always going to be complementary, but I just feel like a lot of the Gen Z, it's almost too ethereal. It's like, go outside, go play,
please, the sun. The sun is your friend.
go
It
play.
literally gives us all life.
Yes.
But Tangina dropped her first NFT, and I know you're hands on with all aspects of the career, and so I wanted to know, what were your internal conversations like that led to you all deciding that this was now a layer you wanted to add into her artist career?
So again, I am always an artist first approach. The artist, the artist's most important audience, because also your publics, and my background is public relations, so this is always how I explain what a true publicist is. You have several publics as an artist. You have your other fellow artists, you have the industry, you have the media, and but the most important public is your fan. Your fan is what will keep you employed. Those are your employees. They keep you going. If your fans are not the most important thing that you are concerned about, you are hustling motherfucking backwards in this industry. That is what gives any artist their power. The industry can never take away your fans. So anything that we choose to embark on is Tangina's way of giving more to her fans, engaging more with her fans. And as an artist of today, you, it's important that, again, like, traditional means of revenue sources are just as important as new means of revenue sources and ways to engage with fans and to give them new things, new offerings. So that's really where we were looking at it from. It's like, oh, this is a cool new way to engage with fans and generate revenue. It's not something that's meant to replace anything else. It's not in replacement of anything. It's an addition to. And digital and global, I think that for me is the most important aspect of digital, is that it erases boundaries in terms of you can get closer to your fans. Again, fans always being the main attraction. How do we do more for the fans? How do we get closer to the fans? How do we touch the fans more? So digital has been a great vehicle for that. I am not anti-digital. I am anti-replacing traditional means with digital. That's never going to be the way to go. So her wanting to get into NFT space was also, as an artist, she's an artist. She's a creative. So it's another way for her to also activate those juices in her head. She's like, oh, this is another way for me to create with my art. Take my music video and do more with it. How fun is that? So she's having fun. So it's just all around a great, means, new way to engage with fans, for her as an artist to create more with her work. It's just a win-win.
Yo, I love that. I love that the thoughtfulness that went into the approach. I think that it also highlights, the commitment to the craft that you both display on the business end and on her end as an artist, where you have a why to get into the NFTs. You're not just like, oh, we're just going to drop this and make this an NFT just cuz. And I think that a lot of people do that and see it as like some crazy quick come up, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't really understand where the value actually exists
Exactly.
in converting your music to this digital medium.
Mm-hmm. And
I,
that's literally what
I
it
will, I
is.
don't, you go.
No, like, that's literally what it is understanding that the core of her, she's a musician. She's an artist. And artists have such an important job, right? I don't think we give artists enough credit because this generation, especially the downside of digital and social, well, not just digital, I should say social media, which is a part of digital. The downside of social media and bringing people so much closer together, it's easier for us to judge each other and tear each other down. So I think, she's a musician. So the artist has such an important job, which is to help communicate what we feel as a human race. They soundtrack that for us. How incredible is that? And we don't give artists enough credit for that. So, I think, again, it's just important that she's able to continue to communicate those aspects of her musicianship in different ways, in different formats.
Yeah, beautifully said. One thing that really excites me about Tangina and just the music NFT space as a whole is I don't, it's tough because I've stopped saying that things are good or bad, but I will just say that some things are for me and some things are not for me. We mentioned earlier how there's a lot of records that just come and go. And there's songs that will be hot today and they're gone tomorrow. And we don't really have the established catalog of the quote unquote old days, which really isn't even that far away, but there is no catalog.
There
And when
is.
I think
Well, it's
about
so
traditional
scary.
music,
So scary.
it's so scary. And I look at this space and there's a lot of really great people and up and coming artists in the space, but the actual quality of music, it's still not there for me. I'll go and listen to these platforms and there's this whole toxic positivity mindset that exists in the space where you said, you don't want to tear people down and you don't want to recreate some of the vibes of social media where it's like you're pitting people against each other. But then I'm like, at the end of the day, this song just isn't for me. And if the song isn't for a lot of people, like if there aren't records that you're playing tens to 20 times throughout your week or tens of times throughout your week, then it's not really resonating with you. You might say it's cool, you might retweet it, you might share it, but that's not actually a record that you love. Your behaviors are displaying whether or not you actually love this music that you're hearing. And I have not found many music NFTs that I love. And I think that as more artists get into the space and we start getting to a point where there are those types of records, everyone will be better off. So there isn't really a question posed with that, but it's more just I'm really looking forward to more artists like Tangina that are thoughtful in their approach and aren't coming to try to cannibalize, any new market. They want to add something to it. They want to build. They want to explore what that looks like for them as an artist. And there are some really cool people in the space that are doing it. I would just argue, as a whole, quality. People need to raise the bar. that's where I'm
It's
at.
a double-edged sword. It's so funny. I'm having these conversations consistently because I think we're hitting what do you call it? We're hitting a ceiling right now in the industry, and it's interesting to see who's going to help move it forward to its next iteration. um, Gatekeeping was necessary, not in terms of opportunity, but in curation. Gatekeepers were needed because we needed people in the industry to say, you, not you. You, not you yet. You are ready. Let's go. You need more work, not you. And that's what's not happening now. There's still a lot of OGs in this industry, but I think either it's their ageism that's keeping them scared from going back to the tactics that worked. There's a lot of new energy and new artists and new executives who are changing the game in great ways in terms of the time it takes to do things. But the time it takes to be great never changes. And I think it's those two aspects that we're losing context of: greatness versus success. They're not synonymous. They can be, but they're not.
Woo-hoo-hoo, that is a bar, and I'm going to clip that and use that.
To be great will
Yo, that is a
always,
great way.
to be great. Now there's levels. There's success, greatness, and iconism. Not many people are interested in greatness and iconism. Iconism ultimately means legacy, ultimately means you have created something that will last once you have departed. I don't think a lot of people are that I don't think a lot of
Yo,
people are. And again,
Anastasia,
my
this
perception is
is
different because I work for an icon. I work for one who's an icon, very young.
and you see what it
She's an
takes.
icon, and she's young. Janet is 55. She's 50. She's an icon at 50. Baby, that's rare. She's a enigma. She's an incredible person, incredible woman. So and I see what it takes for her to stay. I wasn't there. I didn't create. I had no parts of creating Janet Jackson. I get to see and help continue the legacy and to continue. She's still going, which again is just that's what I'm saying. My perception is so different because I'm not. It's not just about success for me. And that's why I work so well with artists like Tangina, and the artists that I choose to work with are not. Of course, we're going to be successful. Successful is just understanding the business metrics of an industry and applying it to your model. Like that's not necessarily hard. That still takes time, but you can always hack that system. But you can't hack greatness, and you can't not hack iconism. So I think that's I'm interested in, like, to your point, like how these new vehicles, these new models of success, because NFT is another model of success, right? Success in fan engagement, success in revenue. It's just another business model adding to the plot. But how does this fit in the overall scheme of greatness? And as an industry, we're losing greatness. We're losing catalog. We're losing our great artists. We do not have replacements in the can. We don't. And for me as an executive, it's scary to me because I have such an appreciation for the industry and my craft. I have studied music. I didn't go to school for music, but I have studied music since the beginning. I watch documentaries. I read books. I dig. I like to know the beginnings of things, the beginning of the modern day recording industry in the 20s and how that happened. And, so like really understanding how the business started to where it is now, we are so losing right now. I don't know. And the thing is, the artist is always going to be the one that loses. What's happening, we are tiring out our artists. Now, I call them baby acts, but by no means did I say they're not talented. Talent without cultivation and time is useless. Like, you are tiring out the babies. They are young and they are tired. We are killing them. You have these, they're expecting so much from them, throwing them into the pot too soon. They're committing suicide. They're on drugs. And again, these are not foreign aspects of the business, but these kids, these baby acts, they are not being given the time to be great. They are not given the cultivation to really become great, to become better. They're not being given that support, and that's the industry problem. And so, the Megans and the Summer Walkers, and there's so many that can go on. What's happening, like you said, 6 months, and they're expecting another body of work, and it's like, whoa, 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 what happened? An album is supposed to last you 3 years. It's supposed to take 18 months for the album to drop. Then once it drops, you promote it for another 6 to 8 months. Then you go on tour for a year. Then you go on the global tour the next year. And then you start recording the next album. So it's supposed to represent an era. A body of work is an era of an artist's life that they are putting out into the world. And we're not giving them time to do that. We're tiring them out because the music and the quality is not being given the support. The industry is failing the artists and in result failing the audience because we are now training audiences to expect music in a, like you said, in this what am I trying to say, so quickly expect music to just be churned out in a way that it's not supposed to be. Even the way music is recorded, it's not supposed to be recorded, send me a beat, that's not the way fucking music is supposed to be recorded. If y'all watch that Genius documentary, that's the way the music is supposed to be. That's why you still go back to those records. Because you see how it was created? In studio, collaboratively, and energy. A moment in a time. You document it. It's different. And this is what we're missing. And that is not an artist issue, a generation issue. It's the older generations of this industry not making sure that those traditions of greatness are passed down. That's really what's happening.
Whew, so many bars there. I think especially when you speak on the industry's hand in our current, situation, you're rewarded for that instant success and not for the greatness. The great record doesn't matter if it doesn't have a million videos on TikTok, or if you're not already popping on your
That's not true.
Instagram. You could be an incredible.
That's not true. That's not true.
Well, no. Okay. When I say that, I feel, or that's coming from a place of where are you going to get recognized at, right? Where there are people that, you're right. I don't want to make sweeping generalizations, but for the most part, you will be rewarded for your TikTok hit over the quality of your
Rewarded
music
by
right now.
who
Or they
and
will
by
go
and
and
with
check
what?
those. Well, by distribution companies with quick advances because they know that they can make their money
That's
back on
not rewarding.
streaming. And I would, well,
Okay.
for an artist it
Yeah,
is.
but that's not. That
For
doesn't mean
someone that
that
hasn't
it's
had it.
exactly. But that's a perception issue. That's not a reality issue. So again, I think
So
it's again
yeah.
under the artist also needs to understand what does that mean? Why are you getting into this business? You're getting in to be rewarded. You're getting in the business to be recognized. Then
They want it for
but
lifestyle. They want it because it's what they
they get
see. They don't.
exactly what they came for, and that's not, they weren't in it for greatness to begin with. The artists that are in it for the right reasons are always rewarded, and they, because they reach sustainability. They make money. Tangina makes money as an artist. She's not struggling out here. She doesn't owe nobody no money. She's great. She's fine. She's not out here vying for attention, vying for a record deal. She doesn't need it because she makes her money. When you are an artist and you're focused on putting out great music sustains you. You make money. You're good. You don't need recognition because you have fans.
Well, I would say
and you have money.
you're 100% right. It's a perception issue. When you've seen greatness, you're able to understand the levels to that. When you haven't seen greatness and you have this idea of what you think greatness is, that becomes what you strive
I
for.
don't know, because
And
we all grew
so
up with the same music. The baby acts and the Gen Zs and those that come after them, they all listen to the same artists. They all go back, they sample them. I don't know where that messed up perception comes from. Like, how do they think Jay Z became Jay
it's
Z?
social
Yeah,
media. It's all
but
quick.
also, I think it's just a. I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know where the disconnect is, because the same artists that they listen to, is it that they're just lazy and they don't go study them? Is that what it is? Because they listen. We all listen to the same artists. We all go back to the same music. A 10-year-old right now knows who Big is. They know who Biggie is. They know who Jay is. They know who those people are. They know who Beyonce is. So is it just a disconnect in that they just think these artists just appeared out of nowhere?
Well, when you look at the teams and the people that were around these artists that were able to help even keep the artist and their perception correct, because you can look at a Hove and see when he started off with the Hawaiian shirts and eventually developed into the Jay-Z that we know. If you know your history and you see what happened with his team and the people that were around him, that helps shape the artist, right? And I think that when you look at this perception, artists don't like having teams. They don't want to be managed. They want to do, and
Where
again,
does that come?
not
Where did
sweeping
that come from,
generalizations.
though? Where do you think that came from?
It has to be social media. That's the only
I
answer that
don't
I've come to.
know. This is
Where
interesting
you
because now
see
I'm
this
really thinking.
perception.
I'm really thinking, like, where is this disconnect? Because maybe it's like I said, a combination of the older generation not educating the new. Maybe it's just the baton hasn't been passed down correctly. That's probably what
It's
it
hundred
is.
percent that. It's one. You don't have any examples. The people that are around you, like even with your example with Tangina, having been around Janet, you're able to
No, but
relay
also
those kind of.
Tangina already didn't want microwave success. I don't know.
And
I
well,
think
not everyone wants it. There are artists that are for sure willing to put in the work, but then the issue just becomes back to my initial point where it's like, yo, we were inside on distro. The distro deals, you could have somebody that was amazing and be pitching these CFOs and the people that handle the budgets on why this artist is great, and if you give me this amount of money and 18 months, we can actually put something together around them. Or if you show them an artist that is just going viral
well,
right now,
distro is
they will give the
not
viral artist way more
yeah,
money.
but distro is not concerned about development. I don't know why people would be looking to distro for development. That's silly.
Well, because now distro offers artist
No, they
services
don't.
and it's
That's
all
a
in.
lie. It's a myth.
Well, We know that.
But it,
We
but
know
it,
that that's a
but
lie. But
again,
you can't at scale when you see these ads for marketing services, and then when you also hear these horror stories about record label deals, and then I say that all the time in this space where I'm like, yo, like the record label is not bad. Maybe some of not maybe some of the deals were definitely predatory, and but nobody put a gun to any artist's head and said you had to sign this. Labels preyed on the fact that artists needed, the funds or the advances or whatever. And also, a lot of times artists don't do shit. All they do is make the music, and you don't realize, like, yo, a label is putting a lot around you that actually makes this thing work. And artists don't think about the fact that, like, yo, who's going to do your marketing? Who's going to do your PR? Who's going to handle your artwork? Who's going to make sure everyone gets paid? There's all these kind of elements to the business that just get thrown away. And I hate to throw people under the bus, but I got to use like the Chance example where it's like Chance in this whole perception of like do it yourself. Pat had money. His dad, his family was connected. It wasn't like Chance was just some random kid that happened to go and make music and then it worked out for him. But when you pitch this story of like, oh, you can do it on your own and you don't need anyone and blah, 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 it starts to worsen that perception. It starts to worsen everyone's
yeah,
understanding of what it actually takes, and then that's what you see the TikTok stars, you see the Jake Pauls who are dropping records that are touching, hundreds of millions of streams and all of these checks, and you want it like that, even though you may know about some of the legacy acts that did it correctly. You're not interested in that because all you see on the daily are the people that are flooding your timeline. And I don't think that that's the end all be all to it, but I would for sure in my time with it, I agree with you that it's perception. And it's just that the reward system, the incentive system is based around this microwave piece. And until people can kind of disassociate the ascent, but you said it in a way that I've never heard worded. And I love that, where success and greatness are not necessarily synonymous. You can be extremely successful and not be great. And if an artist can understand their why and what their goal is, then even that distinction will help you change your approach. Because
yeah.
when you really want to be great, it's a different level of work ethic.
It is. It's a different level of work ethic and also reward system. That's why I'm like, yeah, of course you're rewarded for greatness. There's nobody that is great that's not rewarded because you're rewarded with bigger paychecks that last longer. Like, who don't want that? Like, I'm going to be great, so I'm going to work hard for 10 years so I don't have to work a day in my life until I die. I'm good. Like, that's the reward versus microwave success is I'm gonna have to put out shitty music and sell my soul for 3 to 5 years, and then I'm gonna be broke and have nothing else to stand on for the rest of my life. That's not a reward. And then I'm gonna be in debt, so I can't even release music because I went with shitty deals with advances that I didn't need because I didn't take the time to just find money and invest in myself in the first place and figure out my business model. So when it was time to get a loan, because that's what an advance is, when it's time to get this loan, I already know that I can pay it back 3 times over. So I'm just using somebody else's money real quick to do what I already know I need to do. That's not a reward system. That's what I mean by it's not a reward system. So I think it's really just education, which is honestly, when it comes to anything, ignorance is what fuels any horrible system of oppression, right? We're black. We know what that means. So so I think it's just ignorance. It's just ignorance. It's blatant ignorance. It's media across the board, not just social, but media. You're correct. This glorification of independence, which no artist is independent. There is no such thing as an independent artist. I really want to put that to fucking bed. There is no such thing as an independent artist. Just like an entrepreneur, there's no such thing as solo entrepreneurship. Like you don't make it out here alone. It's ridiculous. I don't know where that glorification came from. It's silly because it's also exhaustive. You will not reach great levels of success. You will not be able to sustain alone. It's silly. You need other people's money. You need a team. You need help. It's ridiculous. And that goes across the board. So I just think it's silly. I just think it's a lot of ignorance. But also, um, one's responsibility for remaining ignorant That's another thing. So I'm always an artist advocate, but I'm also for like, you ignorant, take time to educate yourself. Like, if you're coming into a business and you're just taking things as what you see, that just says to me that you're naive. And maybe you're not built for business. Maybe you're not built for business in general. Like, you can't just want to be. Here's the thing. I'm not here for pointing fingers. Accountability is always going to be needed on any side for anybody. So any artist is out here, crying, oh, they're taking advantage of. Okay, but how many times are you gonna cry that this is not artists getting taken advantage of is not a narrative anybody's not used to hearing. So you're gonna like research a little bit or ask some questions or reach out to people to get some help. Like, it's like it comes to a point in time where the artist has to take accountability for what it is that they're trying to create. And I agree with you. I have total respect for people in this industry, artists that are like, I'm trying to be great, I'm just trying to make money. I'm like, oh, okay, I get you. I don't want to work with you. But I totally get it and I respect it. Keep doing your thing. Like, I respect that. But don't complain about something that you have the power to change. You're just being ignorant. You don't want to educate yourself, and you just want to complain and say, "Oh, it's being done to me." No, you're doing it to yourself. There's nothing. We are in the information power age. This is beyond information age. There is no information right now in terms of access. There's information that you can only get from humans, but access to those humans, you have. So if you were an artist and you were out here claiming, oh, I don't have the means, you on fucking social media, right? Are you sliding in the DMs? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you hollering at people, banging on doors? Are you going from studio to studio, pulling up at offices like Ye was, trying to get your shit heard? Where that at? I also think it's laziness. I also think there's a big difference between Gen Z and millennials. They lazy as fuck. I ain't gonna hold you. And I'm making a blanket ass statement. Gen Z is lazy. Like, the hustle for me ain't there. Because the means are different. When you have to be out in the streets to get shit done, you move different. You move different. Your skill set is different because you have to know how to talk to people. You have to know how to poly. You have to know how to talk your way into rooms. People don't even have that skill set. They over here behind the board, behind Twitter fingers. Like, you move different. You have a different level of confidence and bravado and nerve when you got to walk up to places and get in. You're going to be a different person. So I just think the skill set that has hindered, I think digital has hindered that a little bit across the board in terms of people's interpersonal skills have been diminished because they don't need to take on that level of hustle to get into things. And I think that's why millennials are so powerful because we're using both. We were here at the onset of digital. We watched it. We were coding and didn't know we were fucking coding. I had a MySpace coding, didn't even know what I was fucking doing because I'm trying to put music. So my page is popping. So like, we were doing things because that's what we were. We gonna just get it done. We didn't even know what we were doing, and we were applying that to our already strong sense of self and direction. Again, we didn't have this shit growing up. So when we had to go check on Bobby, we had to trust each other. We had to have each other's backs. We had to, when we were meeting after school, it was like, yo, we're gonna meet at the pizza shop at 5. Cool. There was no texting. Everybody just had to trust each other that we're going to pull up. Then if somebody's missing, what do? We pull up at their house. It's a different mindset that we're coming from. We was outside playing manhunt in the dark. Like, it's this whole lot of like skills and brain development that I think is missing from this generation because of social and the ease of which people can do things. But it still doesn't take away from what's still needed to get things done. It's just need that level of hustle, and I'm not sure that those muscles are being developed the same way. And I think that's maybe what's missing too. The muscles are weak. They're a little underdeveloped. Too fragile.
Yeah. So is I really do agree with a lot of that. And I think I was having this conversation the other day where I talk about it where part of my whole like even not saying shit is good or bad, it's like, yo, certain things are for me and certain things aren't. So you don't gotta fuck with my way. I'm not saying my way is the only way. I just think that my way is a way that I rock with and other people will. And to your point of being, we talked about it earlier, being outside, having to, I use this example of like, I talk to my little cousins about it, and it blows my mind that they've never been in a fight. And I know that sounds like, oh, well, why
You
would
need
you want to
to.
fight?
You
Like,
need
you
to
need to
know what
know
it's like
what
to
it's
defend
like
yourself.
to get punched in the face. Or yeah, or to have to defend. I'm just like, yo, if you've never been punched in the mouth, then you will talk a little spicier than you would because you don't understand the consequences of upsetting someone to the point where they, decide to take action against you. And that may be an extreme example to some people, but having to understand what it's like to get punched in the mouth
Not
has
even that.
adjusted the way I move
But it's
throughout all of life.
boundaries. It's having a sense of boundaries. And again, interpersonal skills are severely diminished by not having real world interactions with each other in the way that we were every day. Getting bullied, being teased. Now, I'm not talking about, well, look at that though. Regular everyday bully, I never hurt nobody. People weren't shooting up no schools when I was young. When people start shooting up schools? When social media came into the mix. Because why? It's more intense. It's terrible. Regular school bullying, please. You have to deal with that shit. It built character. People gonna come for you, but you learn how to stand up for yourself, and it builds character. The thing is, like I said, when you're adding this social element to it, and also you got to understand, new mediums create new industries, create unregulated territory. So it's also this learning curve of how the hell do we monitor, monetize, police? We don't, this is new. So also you're dealing with a generation that unfortunately was part of figuring that out. So there was a lot of what do you call it? Collateral damage, right? Columbine, online bullying, celebrity attacks, paparazzi. There's a lot of shit, unfortunately, that a lot of people had to go through because this was uncharted territory. There were no rules, there were no laws, there were no regulations. The web, the internet, what is this? So that's part of just things evolving. But I think we were too slow to figure that out and to create healthy boundaries. There's a documentary about this, about how social media is actually very damaging for children. And it has not been helpful. I'm not saying that social and digital and all that stuff there's not good in it, but I don't believe it has any value for child development. And your character is really built as a kid. You can only change yourself as you get older, but you really learn a lot about yourself. Babies are brilliant. Children are brilliant. That is the time. And if you are not feeding your child, if you're putting your child in front of an iPad every fucking day, it's horrible. My heart goes out to the kid because the kid is not able to use his or her brain. Like you really gotta like to your point, you gotta let your kids get knocked the fuck around. They gotta be out here learning. You know what it is, and I'm telling you this. I think my parents. I come from a very strong Caribbean family. Caribbeans are super fucking strict in terms of like what you should do, what you should be. And strictness can hinder autonomy. Autonomy is the single most important thing you can instill in your child because you know what? You cannot be with them when they grow up and they have to go out to the world and fight for themselves. Your child has to learn to trust themselves. You cannot learn to trust yourself if you are not given the chance to think and to develop that sense of self and trust in self. And that is a parental advisory. You have to let your children go out into the world and fail, fall, get bumped around, get teased, whatever it is. Be there to support them, but you have to let them fend for themselves because they're going to have to. You cannot be there for them for every little thing. You have to create a strong sense of self in a kid. And you're not going to be able to fully develop those muscles unless you are out in the real world developing those muscles. Me having to go to the corner store, haggle for yourself, take the train. I was taking the bus and the train when I was 10 years old. I was dealing with men trying to holler at me when I was 10 years old. That creates a sense of self and understanding how to advocate for myself as a woman. That serves me to this day. I work in a male-dominated, I work in the music industry, baby. Ain't no nigga coming for me. I'm a turning down grown ass man style at 10 years old, my Catholic girl skirt, hopping on this bus to go to Holy Family, honey. That creates a sense of protection and
It prepped you.
confidence in myself because I'm not behind a fucking computer. I'm in the real world, trusting myself, having a sense of direction. I have Google Maps. You gotta trust yourself. Think, use your brain. Mess up. Go on an adventure. Get lost. Ask for help. These are important aspects of life and survival that I am afraid that this generation that came after me is missing. They do not have.
Well, it's we'll see in 10, 15 years if this just becomes our version of when our parents would say, or grandparents really, they had to walk 3 miles
It's not
uphill to
about
school through
that.
the snow both
It's not about
ways.
that. I'm not saying ease of doing things. I'm saying it's the brain, it's the parts of our brain that you're using. This is why we are not superhuman anymore. When you think of our ancestors, they were superhuman. Why? Because they were using all of their capacity, because they had to. It's different when you have to do things from scratch, because then it requires using all of your abilities. We're just not even using our brain power at the capacity. That's what kills me with the digital thing. I'm like, they're not using all of their brain. There are people who are skilled and can see things and different aspects of things quickly. That's why they're good at doing things like engineers, mathematicians. That doesn't make them any more genius or that they're able to use any more of they're using a very specific part of their brain. That's why they're good at coding. That's why they're good at creating this. That's why they're good at but they're not using any more of they're still diminished. And those types of people, what they lack in what other skill sets, interpersonal. It's always an imbalance, right? But when you think of our ancestors, they could run like with animals. They can hunt. They can go face to face with a tiger. Like you're talking about a part of yourself that you haven't even tapped into yet, and you probably never will. And that's a shame because you don't know what you're able to do. And that's what I'm talking about. It's not about I had to walk. No, it's like I had to use parts of myself and parts of my character that you never will, and you never know. You will never know because you're not in that position anymore, and that's a shame. Because who knows what you could do? Who knows what type of superhuman you could become? You're not using part of it. It's dead. You haven't tapped into it. You're comfortable behind the board. You send an email. You don't have to you don't have to write a hand letter. Think about the stationery, hand deliver it, figure out the address, talk to the person in person. Write an email. Oh, fuck an email. I could just send it.
Yo, it's
I
gonna
could just
be
send a DM.
it's gonna be it's gonna be wild to see how the push for fully VR experiences is going to worsen this divide as
I
well.
don't think anything
I
about it is
am
bad. I just think there's no balance. Imbalance
Well, I
is
think that
horrible.
it's going to become even further imbalanced.
Yeah,
It's
and I
going
don't
to
think it's
become a
gonna.
lot more when you don't have to leave your house
Yeah, that's
ever.
horrible. That's bad. That's not a good thing. You know, like I think we're going like this whole metaverse thing. Like again, I can see value in things, but balance is always going to be. And that's the thing, right? Again, like I'm a very spiritual person. I'm about body. I am a god. So I'm about maintaining that godliness at all costs. Being a god means understanding that you can reach parts and do things you probably didn't even know you could, but you also have to want to do that, right? Not everybody wants to. You want to be comfortable, don't want to do it. And I feel like, oh my God, where did that energy come from? Don't you want to be godly? Don't you want to be powerful? Don't you want to be magnificent? Don't you want to be brilliant? Don't you want to be all knowing, ever knowing? Who wants to be lazy and stay at home and just succumb to a fake world? That just sounds like, why would that be anybody's reality? The world is so vast and big and expansive and beautiful. And even processes of things, like I can't wait to I want to own a farm one day. I want to grow something. Do you know what it means to grow? Like I birth things all the time. I grow companies, I develop art, birth ideas into the world. That requires parts of you. I can't wait to grow food. I can't wait to raise livestock. I want to use parts of my brain and my person, all of it. And parts of it that I didn't even use when I was growing up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just find it wild that people are shutting down. I find that this move into this digital, people are shutting down from each other, and I don't know why. That's wild to me. We should be moving closer together, and I think that's a big like a what I'm trying to say, like a fake selling point. Oh, it brings us closer together. No, it don't. No, it don't. Oh, it brings us closer together. No, you don't. It doesn't.
Yeah, this is no, Buff, I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry, keep
No,
going.
but no, I'm saying like I think digital can, but there has to be like to your point, help bring people together in real life, not keep us separated further, longer. That should be what digital and VR is for, like communicating and bringing people together in real life, not keeping us further separated from realities of each other. The more we run from reality, the more dangerous we are going as a human race. We cannot avoid our realities.
We cannot avoid our reality. That is, you have dropped some gems today, Anastasia. For real, for real. This is fire. I remember when I first talked to you about the idea for this and the quality feedback you provided, which maybe I'll share at a later date, but I'll save that not for this episode. Um, I loved where our conversation went. There's two things I would like to do one thing I'd like to do before I ask you the closing questions. You also have a series that I think is very crucial. The whole idea for Money Trees is planting ideas, planting seeds, and just discussing these kind of conversations that I would be having with my guest offline and recording it online so we can kind of look back and treat these as time capsules and listen back to these conversations and see how these ideas, these seeds have grown. You have Money Mondays. Can you just plug that real quick before we get out of here? Talk about why you started it,
Okay,
why it's
Lord,
necessary.
you got me on the spot because if my amazing EA is listening, she's gonna start laughing. I have learned. Let me tell you about why it's important to try things so you know it's not for you. Another reason why you got to be out in this world, baby. You got to try shit. That's the only way you're gonna find out what your boundaries are, what you're built for, what you're not built for. You just got to try it. Get out there and try. I am very passionate about two things: equity and freedom. Why? Because I'm a black woman. So automatically I came into a world that hates me. I came into a world that thinks I'm not worthy. I came into a world that thinks I'm less than. Not that I grew up in that. My family has raised me again to think I'm everything but those things. But I'm talking about the world and the perception and the narratives that were built for me that I'm coming into that I have to exist in and change for myself and for others. So equity and freedom is the true means to sustain civilization and self-realization. You have to have both. And so money, again, is important, but it's not real. It's a means to an end. And my passion is particularly to change people's perceptions and relationships with money, especially Black people and especially artists and creatives, because there's such an adverse, a fear, a lack mindset in all rounds when it comes to money and worth, when it comes to Black people, people of color, women, any honestly underrepresented group. We have a really thwarted relationship with money and wealth and worth and creative. So I am really passionate about changing those relationships any way that I can. And Money Mondays was born out of that with my own financial advisor, Robert Fortune. And we started wanting to do it weekly, but I found out I cannot do anything weekly. Too much. I gotta shift. So we are gonna bring Money Mondays back. I don't know why this person is so loud. There's no reason to talk that loud. I'm sorry, guys. But we're gonna probably switch to a monthly in-person format. Ha ha ha! Bringing things full circle, right? Um, I've and we're gonna probably do a monthly recorded in-person format. And I'm probably gonna do it in New York. Robert is based in New York, so we're thinking of pivoting a bit, bringing Money Mondays to a monthly in-person event, probably at partners like Soul House, where we'll have an audience, we'll record a conversation and still release it digitally, but there will be an in-person element because I'm finding this is such a personal conversation. Money is very personal to people. And I want to change that. Money is not personal. It's not real. It's not real, y'all. Share it, create it, build with it, communitize it. That's what I want to change. It's not real. Everybody's saying, ooh, but my money. Because of the way that we've been taught, the way that they have taught us to think about it, access to it. We need to change that. We need to group think with our money. You know how powerful? I was at this on one of my episodes. If I did a retreat with 10 of my closest business women, we decided, hey, Rob, we want to start a fund. We'll call it Our Money Fund. It's 10 of us. We decided to start this fund. We each put in $1,000. That's $10 right there in the fund. Every month we contribute $500. It's just like another business investment. Eventually that fund is going to grow. So when any one of us need money, we talk to the collective. Hey, I need 5K real quick. We become our own investors. We don't need a bank. Why are we so scared of each other? Why are we not sharing our money and our resources more? I don't get that. We don't need them if we got us. We don't got us enough. So I really want to change that. We need to trust each other more. And this is why, coming full circle to our whole NFT and our Bitcoin and digital currency, this is how digital currency can be powerful.
Oh, hey, did I lose you after? Am I getting rugged? Anastasia was spitting. Twitter saw her start talking about financial freedom and may have rugged. Oh,
huh?
Okay, I lost you after Bitcoin.
No, I was going to say for any system to really work in a way to change people's lives, there has to be a system of trust. And so I want to change this personal aspect. Money is not personal. Money needs to be communitized, so we can all have access, so we can all have equity, so we can all have freedom. If everybody's living good, we're not going to be so worried about it. You know what I'm saying?
1,000%. And that is why I needed you to plug Money Mondays. The origin, the reasoning, the intention behind it is all incredibly needed in this space, especially as we are watching this, digital currency revolution. And I've said it on this show numerous times. Money is not real. And the sooner people can kind of understand and comprehend that, the better off they will be to ascertain this financial freedom that they look for. So, I really got to thank you for making time. I know you were back in the city for a short period, making all of the moves. So, we really appreciate you coming and sharing your wisdom here. Before I let you go, I ask everybody on the show 2 questions. When in the crypto space, NFT space, the word seed phrase technically refers to your account recovery key. It's a password or a set of passwords that you're given that allows you to access your crypto wallet. And I just don't think seed phrase is a scary enough term, because when you hear seed phrase, it doesn't sound like something that if you lose, you can potentially lose access to all of your assets. So on Money Trees, we have repurposed seed phrase to represent a saying, a quote, slogan, motto, lyric that you live by, that embodies your approach to your career, to your art, to life. So, Anastasia Wright, what is your seed phrase?
My seed phrase is actually a Harriet Tubman quote. And it's also a shout out to all those that came before me, because we are on our shoulders. And I think we are the shoulders for somebody. And again, having that mindset, right? But it's a very phrase that Harriet Tubman said, I go to prepare for you. It's very simple. Meaning I go first to prepare for you to come after me. And it's just a level of respect. It's a level of accountability, understanding that we don't live lives in a bubble. Again, kind of coming full circle. We live lives in a community. We live in a world that's interconnected at any time. Energy, money, process, productivity. We're not enigmas. We all exist together. So yeah, that's a phrase that I always stick to. It always brings me back for some reason. It's just simple but so powerful. I go to prepare for you.
Whew, I love that.
Just let me
Wow,
know when you
that's
leave the house.
very powerful indeed. My fault. I'm still processing. I hadn't heard that
Shout out to
before
Harriet
either.
and her
So
shotgun because
yeah,
I'm
that
also for.
was
I'm also. It's powerful because everybody can't come either. And that's another conversation for another day when it comes to our community. Harriet had that shotgun ready, baby. It's like, baby, you coming? If you come and you don't, we gonna shoot you. Let's
it
go.
is. The
Shout out to
second
Harriet and the
question.
shotgun, baby.
Yeah. The second question I got for you is we have this one of one Money Trees number 35 note that will go up for sale after this episode. What is the reserve price going to be?
I don't know. You know, I still learn about that shit. What's that mean?
The
What's that
guests
mean?
determine the price.
I don't know. Give it away. I don't know.
Give it
I
away,
don't
the
know.
first free one. I'll list.
Give it
I wonder
away.
if you can actually list for zero. I
Give it
wonder how
away.
that works. Okay,
I don't
I
know.
will.
How do you
I will.
give it
I'm gonna
away?
see. I'm gonna see if I can list it for. See, I love that. There's the. Sometimes I tell people, and like I prepped you, not prepped, but like I always send everyone just a little bit of an intro as to like what to expect, but sometimes more specific than others. And on this one in particular, I did not mention the reserve price ahead just to kind of see where you went with that. And I love that you're the first person saying, "Give it away." First person to claim it, first person that listens through this episode and hears and understands what it is that we're talking about and agrees and wants to celebrate this appearance, the first ever free Money Trees note. Anastasia,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us.
Thank
This
you
has
for
been,
having me. This is great.
this is really fire. There are so many clips from here. I cannot wait to go back through this and share this because
Where is
it's a
this
lot of
gonna
real talk.
be? Where are you gonna drop the recording?
So it'll be on all podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, Amazon Podcast. I just gave those in my head. I'm like, damn, am I doing an ad right now? But it's an ad for the show. So and then YouTube.
No, you're not.
So it'll be available. I'm like Google, Amazon, YouTube. Please catch
On
us
all
out. Don't
streaming on
forget to
all
like and
DSP at all
subscribe.
DSP partners.
Yo, you know what would kill me when artists would be like, now streaming on all platforms.
Oh
It's
my
like, damn, like,
god.
isn't it always on all platforms?
Right. I think we're right. I'm laughing because I used to be like a big marketing ploy, like change the banners. Change the Twitter
Yo,
header.
distro services. Listen, y'all, distros marketing services. I'm not saying all of them, but ask them to send you an example of a marketing plan before any distro company tells you that they're offering you label services.
Because they
Because
don't have
these
one.
cookie cutter ass marketing plans that are gonna be a whole bunch of shit you could have read on Medium or Substack that tells you how to
Honestly.
upload 3 weeks before, change the banners. Have you checked your Twitter profiles to make sure all of your links are valid? You're like, I'm giving you 20% for this? Anyway, I
Man,
digress.
that's
I
a whole nother
digress.
conversation. Honestly, I get paid a lot of money for that information. So, how do we market my music? Child, I'd be like, huh? Anastasia, how do I market my music? Oh boy.
Yeah, this is all right. I'm letting you get out of here. I'm gonna edit this. This has been fire. I'm really glad that we got to have this conversation. I hope you enjoy the
This
rest of
is
your time
fun.
in New York. Oh, and there is one
My,
last seed that
but
we have an idea, and I won't drop the name on record because I have to clear it because then I also didn't come up with this name. But there is a Web3 music conference that we are looking to
oh,
put together in Atlanta. And
fire. Ooh, where I'm at. Okay, okay.
yes. So I will be sending you the deck information on that shortly, and we might look back on this episode after it materializes and say, huh, well, look at that. We knew it was going to be fire.
I have a space for that. Should do it at the gathering spot.
Whew, see. Now, if I tell there's some schools involved, might be a stadium, but we gonna chop. I like the gathering spot too, though.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good place for the conversation. But anyway, we digress.
Yo, I'll chop with you later. I will send you all these links, all the availabilities. Again, thank you.
Thank you.
And yeah,
That was just dope.